Hello, everybody. Welcome back to How Come. This episode is so good. It is about dick riding with the dick riding queen herself, Tyomi Morgan. She is the founder of the Cowgirl Workout. She's a certified authentic tantra coach and a sex blogger. She has also been featured on Fuse TV, WeTV, The Doctors, Women's Health, Business Insider, Essence, Cosmopolitan, and dozens of other platforms. I will say this episode is very late. And yeah, I'm just telling you about the lateness because she talks about some dates, upcoming dates for classes, and those have already happened. But you can still sign up for her workout. Her classes are online. They are classes for women, men, anyone. It doesn't matter if you have a penis, a vulva, there is a dick riding class for you. I am super excited for you to hear the episode and enjoy.
How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
So excited to have today's guest on. Welcome, Tyomi Morgan.
Hi. Thanks for having me on your show.
Of course. We have never really talked about exclusively dick riding, so this will be good.
Okay, great. Can't wait to dive into this.
Yes, do. Go deep.
So you are the founder of the Cowgirl Workout.
Yes.
Can you tell us what this is, how it started, your background in sexuality, all that good stuff?
Oh, so let me start from the beginning with my background in sexuality. So I am a sexual health coach, an intimacy coach, intimacy coordinator, authentic tantra practitioner. I like to say I'm a multi-hyphenate in the sexual health and wellness space.
Yeah.
And I started my career as a sex blogger when I launched my sex blog in 2011, glamorerotica101.com. And so I started doing my research in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And I was noticing that I didn't see a lot of people speaking to Black women about sex. There weren't a lot of spaces for us. And so I was like, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to jump in the game and just do this thing.
I'm just going to do it.
I'm a solutions-oriented person. I'm like, if there's a problem, I'm going to solve it. I'm not just going to be like Twitter fingers, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
And
a lot of us get the case of Twitter fingers.
Don't get me started on Twitter activism. It's like, okay.
Okay, sorry.
And so I also started a YouTube channel. And this was in the Wild Wild West days of YouTube, when it first started. And I was one of the first sex experts that was actually showing sex positions and how to do the thing, the mechanics of sex. And so my specialty really is helping to empower women around their sexuality. And so every time I would put up these sex positions with, vulva on top or cowgirl positions, women from all over the world would be like, hey, Tyomi, this is great. This looks great, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing when I get up there. And I'm telling you, it wasn't even just a US thing. This is all over.
Globally.
It's a global epidemic. This is a problem.
People don't know how to ride dick properly.
They don't, and I'm pretty sure penis owning people who ride dick need some help too,
100%.
So, even though I have a specialty in training vaginas how to stroke back, the same movements can help, them too, but I digress. So with getting all of these complaints, I was like, all right, let me just study the mechanics of how to do this thing. So that way I can create a tutorial where I could teach, my viewers how to do it. And so I've made a series of 3 tutorials. They went absolutely viral. And a lot of people enjoyed them and learned a lot. And they were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for teaching me. But then there was still this large group of women who were like, still don't know what I'm doing.
I still don't get
it. And so in 2016, I started touring with my class.
So cool.
And my very first class was at a male review.
Ooh.
I was dating an exotic dancer at the time. And he was like, hey, I think it would be great for you to be at our show in Denver to teach your dick riding class. And I was like,
okay,
this is different. And so I did it. It was a hit. And then a friend of mine in Chicago who has an organization called the Meow University. She runs sex education classes for adults. She was like, I want to book you to teach your class. And so she booked me, and we sold out like within 2 weeks. And then we booked another class. We sold out of 2 classes in a whole month.
Oh my God.
And then I started getting all of these requests from people in different states. And so I set out on my first domestic tour, actually international tour, because I went to London that year in 2016. And it just took off. And so from there, I started touring with the class every year. The pandemic hit, and I had to move everything online. And that's how the cowgirlworkout.com was birthed. So it is an online community for vulva owners to not only learn how to stroke back, but to empower them in building deeper body wisdom and body confidence so that they can stroke back in any position, but also move throughout life with more confidence in their bodies and how they show up. And so I like to say it's more than a dick riding class. It's a somatic healing practice. Because I like to infuse Tantra and like all types of like healing elements into what I do. And so that's the story of how I got to where I am now with this thing, because I just saw a great need for it. I didn't see any text that was like teaching people about it. At the time when I started, I didn't see anybody else that was teaching it. And I especially did not see anyone teaching it the way that I do, breaking it down with like the nuances and everything. And yeah, I love what I do. I love that I get to empower women, and the results that my clients get are amazing.
I'm sure. Okay, so can we talk about like the benefits of dick riding? Because obviously on this podcast, I had to relearn that sex wasn't all about penetration. That's like what I thought. It was just in, and that had to make an orgasm, and if it didn't, then like you were shit out of luck. Yeah. So then I had to learn that externally is where a lot of it happens for a lot of people. But internal stuff is still fun.
It is.
So what about internal stuff really interests you?
So first and foremost, the vagina has several erogenous zones that we get to access through penetration. And one of the most underrated...
7?
Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I want to say 6.
Wow.
So let's start with the entrance of the vagina. A lot of people don't know or even understand this, but the internal clitoris, it looks like a little wishbone. And the bulbs of the internal clitoris actually sit around the vagina at the entrance. So shallow penetration.
Looks like a cowboy with no head.
It does! Oh my God! With the gaping, with the bow legs. So the bow legs of the clitoris, they sit around the opening of the vagina, and the internal clitoris is erectile tissue. So, people who have vaginas, like we get erections just like people with penises, and it's literally the same tissue. So when that tissue is engorged, it becomes, full, and it places pressure on the vagina. And so when penetration happens, then the penetration presses against the internal clitoris and it stimulates it, right? So with that shallow penetration, you're hitting the bulbs of the internal clitoris. You're also stimulating the perineal sponge, which sits from the back opening of the vagina along or parallel to the perineum. And it is another bed of erectile tissue. And then on the front wall of the vagina, 2 inches in, we have the G area. And that's also a known, very popular erogenous zone. So you literally have 3 erogenous zones right there at the entrance that a lot of times when penetrative sex is happening, people ignore it because they want to go deep because, they're like, oh, it feels so good down there, right? Which I get, because when you go deeper, you have your A spot, anterior fornix erogenous zone on the front wall. That's like a little pocket in front of the cervix. Then you have the cervix itself. That is also an erogenous zone.
Sometimes it's a get out of me
I
zone.
was just going to say that for some people, the cervix is a sensitive spot because it's a trauma zone, because either a repeated, like rough penetration against the cervix, or B, they might have had like a previous surgery, C, childbirth, of course, or D, like previous infections that may have caused scar tissue. So there's all kinds of reasons why like the cervix could be a not for me spot, or also if...
Or a maybe sometimes, but lightly.
Right. And 2, the cervix may be a little like off center. So sometimes like the positioning of the cervix can also cause a little bit of pain. And I think too, it's the type of pressure that's against it. When it's that like hard, stabby penetration, that's not fun for anybody. I always tell my clients, my male clients, or penis owning clients specifically, like, you gotta press into the cervix. And when you're down there, it has to be slow. You know, if you go in stabbing, it's gonna be a scream fest and not the kind of screaming you wanna hear. Okay.
I wish we could hear the way that your hand is moving in the different ways.
I know. I'm taking my palm.
Make this a video.
And I'm like literally like pressing my palm in a slow, like upward fashion, just like a nice little wave of a caress. That is how you should be pressing in.
I'm thinking of it as like my mom used to always say, like, walk heel ball toe, toe, you know, like through your foot instead of like stomping down. Like picture that with your pelvis.
That spot on. And I think it's because like a lot of them lead with their entire body into your body instead of leading from the hips and isolating the hips and really understanding that they get to also press in by like breathing into the penis and really like pressing through the pelvic floor to like extend the penis instead of using all of like hip power, right?
Torque.
Right, torque. So then you have the P spot, which is the posterior fornix erogenous zone, which is the little pocket of space on the back side of the cervix. And so those little pockets are very delicious and like silky, and they create these like deep pelvic orgasms, and they feel like ripples, and it's just sexy up there. So we literally have these 6 erogenous zones that we get to access from penetrative sex. And then when we're riding, as a person with a vagina, we get to control where the pressure and the depth hits in the vagina. Yeah. So we get to prevent that whole stabby situation. We get to, you know, be the ones to say, hey, I got this. And also direct them from the bottom. Yeah. Because riding is literally, it's stroking. And in stroking, you want to meet your partner in the middle with the stroke. So that's why I'm such a big fan of riding, because a lot of times women are like, I don't have orgasms from penetrative sex. And I'm like, do you ride a dick?
It's not even like, are you getting fucked by a penis? It's like, are you riding it? And like, here's another metaphor coming at you. But when you ride a horse properly, you post or whatever. Right. Like you go up and down and you ride with the thing. If you just let it like jostle you, you're like, and it's like a worse run for everyone.
Exactly.
So I love this idea, because I think, like, I used to always just think about them too. Oh, sex must be so hard for them because they have to balance on their arms and they have to do all this work. And it's like, no, we should actually be doing the work together. Absolutely. It'll make it better for both people.
Absolutely. Coming together is the key. And this is why I enjoy teaching this method, because, you know, some of us are pillow princesses. Some of us like to be kind of inactive, but then it makes sex seem like it's happening to you, instead of being
not with you.
Exactly, instead of with you. And so when you get to be an active participant, I always tell my clients, like, if you learn how to stroke on top, then you can learn how to throw it back in doggy style. You can learn how to stroke back in missionary. You can learn how to stroke back in side sex positions. No matter what position it is, you'll learn how to meet your partner's stroke. And like you said, ride with it, ride the wave, instead of just like bracing yourself for impact.
Yeah, saddle up.
Yeah.
Grease the saddle even.
Yes, absolutely. And what I find is that when women learn how to take control, it builds their self-confidence, because now they have this skill that they know 100% is not only going to bring them pleasure, but it's going to bring their partner pleasure as well. And I can't even tell you how many women have come to me literally in shambles around not knowing how to do this. I mean, some of them have even come to me on the verge of breakup, because they're like, if I don't get this right, my boyfriend's gonna break up with me, my relationship's gonna be over, or my husband's gonna be done with me. And I always like calm them down first. Like,
we would hope not.
Right. I'm like, first and foremost, if he's gonna break up with you over this one thing, Like you could just say bye because like, no pun intended, it's not that deep. Like it could be that deep, but like, you know, there are so many other things that can cause, you know, distress in a relationship that I personally see as more detrimental than not knowing this one position. Because I always say, like, just because something exists doesn't mean it's for you. And there are some people who literally cannot ride because they have like mobility issues because of disabilities or what have you. And so in those instances, I'm like, well, if you can't physically do it, then find another way to make penetrative sex feel comfortable, right? Other than forcing yourself to try to learn this thing that your body literally cannot perform.
Right. And I'm sure there are modifications too for every type of person.
Absolutely.
That of like just how to use your body more in the act instead of like, I think a few people might be coming into riding unwillingly if they've done it before and it wasn't a good experience.
Yeah.
Like a person I used to have sex with that I was on top for the first time, it was always bad because I was only there as like a fleshlight basically. You know, it wasn't about my pleasure. It was like, okay, yeah, you're up there, but you're just here for me to do my thing. And so that would make me not really want to do that. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to get there and do that. But then a second thing is a lot of people might be feeling self-conscious in that position because it's one of the ones where you're like most on display.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you help people get through that mental aspect of it?
So we do a lot of like talk therapy, right? So in that space, I'm always asking them the question of, you know, what are the things that you feel the most uncomfortable with about your body? And I always remind them, like, you have a body, but you are not a body. And if you have a partner, that person literally is embracing you and accepting you as you are. And the experience you're having in your head is not the same experience they're having with your body and their minds. And so don't make the habit of like projecting the things that you feel uncomfortable with your body about onto them and like playing this story that there's something wrong with you. My partner thinks I look crazy up here. And I always say, find a way to just like laugh at yourself. Like if you got long titties, they're long titties. That's just a fact. But that doesn't mean that anything is wrong with them. I got long titties, they hang.
Somebody loves long titties.
They do. I was going to say, I beat my lover in the face with my long titties and they love it. You know what I mean? And so, and then I also encourage mirror work. So when we do these moves, I tell my clients, like, either have a mirror in front of you or turn on your selfie camera and prop it up so you can see yourself. Because a lot of them are not used to seeing themselves move in like very like sensual and sexy ways, or even seeing their hips like rotate in the way that I teach them. And so when they can watch themselves, they're like, oh my God, I'm turning myself on now. And I also encourage them to work out in close to nothing. I'm like, look, you're in your house. All right. I encourage them to put on lingerie. If you don't feel comfortable working out in lingerie, then put on at least like a sports bra and like some boy shorts so that you can see your breasts, you can see your belly, you can see your booty and everything that comes with you and your body, right? And embrace the fuck out of it. This is your body. This is the one you have.
Worship it even.
Exactly. And I encourage like, you know, touching and caressing the body as we work out. And I always tell my clients, like, just love on yourself, because what other time in the day are you going to have the opportunity to develop this relationship with yourself? This is your responsibility. And sure, you want your partner to like worship you and adore you. But if you do this for yourself first, it's going to empower and enrich you and fill your cup up so then you can go into your intimate experiences with that same energy. And now you're not looking to your partner to validate you. You validate you first. And then your partner coming in with their method of validation and appreciation, it's just a bonus and it's just making your cup overflow even more. So it's a whole thing.
I saw a quote like that recently that was like, fill up your own cup and then let everything else just be overflow.
Exactly. Because we're supposed to be we're supposed to be giving from our overflow, not from our cup. Because think about it. If you pour from your cup, You're going to be depleted every time. And then you have to literally keep refilling that cup. And over time, you're like, this is exhausting, right?
Yeah.
So if you are in the business of filling up your cup for yourself in all the things and in all the ways that bring you pleasure, then when your partners come in, it's just a bonus, right? And then they also can enjoy you more because they can sense the joy. They can sense the happiness. And when you're joyful 100%. And you're happy, your pussy is too. She feels better. She feels welcoming. I'm just saying, she gets wetter. So, you know, and two, I have my clients do like a journal.
Ooh.
Where they get to write out just like the thoughts that come into their mind around their bodies so they can see it. And then they get to reframe that stuff. Because I'm like, look, you have cellulite. Okay, but what does that really mean? It's just cellulite. There's an entire industry built around these things, our quote unquote insecurities, or making us feel insecure about these things that they call unsightly or whatever. But I'm like, but it's just a collection of fat underneath your skin. That's it. And what does that really change?
I think cellulite honestly must turn people on. Like it must have turned people on initially.
Yes.
And that's why they were like, cover it up.
Right.
You know?
Right. Because it's like, it doesn't change anything about who you are as a person. And it most certainly does not change anything about your ability to ride dick and feel pleasure and have orgasms. It doesn't. Long titties don't. A belly doesn't. And I always tell my clients this, I'm like, if you have a belly and it hangs over, you got a fupa and it hangs over your vulva, number one, it's just marinating the pussy for your day. Number one. Okay. Number two, you know, move it. It's fat. It's malleable. Move it out of the way if you need to. If it's getting in the way of a position, trust and believe he's not going to care. He's like,
a belly can be a little helpful during sex, honestly, because if you pull it up, then your clit will come up with it.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of like handlebars sometimes too, like especially like at certain positions they hold on. It's like, yes.
Yeah. I don't know if I've mentioned this on this podcast, but I've been getting a little more comfortable with my belly because, you know, I don't know. It's like whether you're spooning or having sex or whatever, there is something that it was always telling us to suck in. And I'm like, this is just not going to work. And so I've started consciously being like, Ben, put your hands on my tummy, squish my tummy, like while I'm letting it out and being like, enjoy my tummy. Isn't it soft? And he's like, it is, you know, and getting accustomed to that for both of us.
And you know, when we suck in our bellies, it's also like tightening the pelvic floor too. Like,
it's not good.
It's okay when you push your belly button back to your spine when you're like doing workouts because it's helping you to stay in your center mass in your core. But when we're actively like pulling in the muscles, try to like flatten the stomach, then it creates like an overly tight pelvic floor, and that can cause inconsistencies or create inconsistencies that make it difficult to orgasm over time because the pelvic floor is not flexible enough to feel the contractions that happen when you have that orgasmic release. And so and because I do a lot of pelvic floor work with my clients, I'm always saying, let's belly breathe. So we actually consciously breathe into our diaphragms and expand our bellies so that we can feel that pressure, that healthy pressure on the pelvic floor.
I'm doing it. Are you?
Yeah. And it feels so good. Like when you belly breathe, like, and you breathe really deep, especially if you like just push out even more, you can feel that pressure on the pelvic floor and it just feels good. It feels like everything's opening and expanding. And so I breathe like that pretty much all the time. And that's how we were breathing when we were babies. But then
I was just going to say, I feel like a little kid again. I don't feel like I've breathed like this since I was in like kindergarten or whatever.
Exactly. So what happened was we got activated into fight or flight and we started chest breathing instead. And so what breathing into the diaphragm does is activate rest and digest response. And so what I'm teaching my clients is I'm teaching them how to relax through movement. Because, you know, like, let's be clear, riding and sex in general is a physical activity. It's damn near exercise, but a lot sexier.
It's not called the Cowgirl Workout for nothing. And it's called a blowjob because it's a job.
It's so funny because like when I first started doing my classes, people would come all dolled up and stuff. And I was like, Okay, cool. Like if that's how you want to come, but you're gonna be leaving here sweating, your makeup's gonna be running because like we're working out. Like I don't know what you think we're doing, but this is a work out. I don't know how to teach you how to ride dick without teaching you fitness. Especially since like common complaints are like, my knees hurt, my lower back, my hips are tight,
Yes.
right? So like we have to stretch. We got to do strength training. We're only using our body weight. We're not using weights or anything like that. And then I started teaching with like modifications, because there were a lot of women who were like, I cannot get on my knees. And I'm like, how do I teach them how to ride without getting on their knees? And I was like, okay, first and foremost, highly suggest sitting riding positions for you. If you can't kneel,
Like
so
knees up
in a chair. Yeah, like in a chair or
in a chair.
Yep. Or so I call it like the crab or like the spider, where the legs are like facing your partner's head instead of being the knees are bent and then they're facing like behind you. So it's still a straddle, except everything's gonna like move forward, kind of like rocking a boat. And that still work because you have to like hold yourself up with your upper body strength. But
it's a good tricep workout.
It really is. It's like doing dips, you know what I'm saying? And so I always tell my clients, like, look, before you even get into the position with your clothes off, experiment with it with your clothes on. Try different positions to see what's the most comfortable for you. And like the other solution is like, riding on your feet, but that is also very tense on the knees and very tiring.
And where do they go?
I started teaching how to ride in a chair, and I started teaching using a fitness ball. And the fitness ball has been great for people who have had like pelvic injuries or like lower back or knee injuries. Because the ball, first of all, I love the ball because it gives you
like a big yoga ball or like a little bender ball.
The big yoga ball.
Yeah,
right?
Like the one that people sub out for their office chairs.
Exactly. Yes. Which is so important because like with us sitting down all day, our hips get stagnant and stiff. And so with the ball, it gives us something to bounce back against. So it's kind of like a partner, right? And then it assists the movement. So for women who are like, I have no rhythm, I'm very stiff, I'm like, no worries, ball workouts are for you. Get on top of that ball, get your hip rotations in. We also do like a bunch of strength training exercises on the ball. And I'm like, okay, if you can do it on the ball, you can do it on a dick.
You can do it on a dick and balls.
Yeah, do it on a dick and balls. And then, but you can use the ball too, like in sex. It's a great balancing act, actually. But it's possible.
I got yelled at in college. It was the last week of my freshman year, and my roommate had one of those balls as her desk chair, and I used it, not as a desk chair. And and she was like, man, I really wanted to keep that. I was like, I'll get you.
Right, like, don't worry, I'll go to Five Below. I'll have it replaced in no time.
Have to go to Five Below when you've been getting blown out.
Look, Five Below they got everything in there.
I know.
Like, you can make a whole gym set for under $30, like a whole like at home gym.
It's a wonderful place, the Five Below. But yeah, so is there a lot of knee strengthening too? Like, do people work up to being able to ride in the different positions?
Yes, it's funny because one of my star pupils, her like screen name online is Queen Janine, right? And she just recently put up a post on Instagram where she's like dropping it low at a party and she's just like getting it in. And she was like, I credit my knee strength to the Cowgirl Workout. She's like, I just love, like, she's one of my best ambassadors because she's always showing what she could do. And so yes, we do a lot of exercises that help to strengthen the muscles around the knees and also to help like balance out the hips. So all the stretches that we do, like it's all designed to help those pain points. And recently I had a client give me a testimonial and say that she's lived with vaginismus for like most of her adult life. And so most of her sexual experiences have been like peppered with pain. And after taking my workout and like putting the work in, she's been able to successfully have sex without pain and actually experience orgasms.
Unreal.
And she was like, I'm over here crying. And I was like, oh my God. I said, this is what I'm saying. It's more than just a dick riding class, because for some people, it's healing issues that, like, she's done pelvic floor therapy and everything, and none of it worked. And then she came to work with me. Few workouts, she was on the dick, riding with pleasure. And I was like,
it's a really integrative experience, because you're coming from a mental and physical and like health perspective.
Yes, it's holistic. I say it's holistic.
It's holistic.
I'm not just teaching choreography, because I do know like there are other classes out there and they're teaching like, choreography, and that's cool. But after choreography, what about the lower back issues? What about the tightness in the hips? What about the ladies who do live with arthritis or like lupus or MS or conditions that make movement a little difficult? Like I just had a client reach out to me and say that she has a frozen hip. And I was like, okay. Because she was like, something in this workout helped me. And I was like, before I give you that answer, let me do some research on this. So that way I know how to properly guide you, and also make sure you are talking to your doctor and, doing whatever treatments they suggest for this, because I'm not a physician that can diagnose this or like give you prescriptions for this. But in my research and in what I do as a coach, my goal is to help improve intimate mobility. And so if I can find workouts that will help with unlocking and unfreezing that hip in a way that is gentle, then I'm going to do it. So everything that has come of the Cowgirl Workout is because I listen to the women who have these pain points, and I'm like, how can I meet their needs? And how can I make working out for them fun? Because let's be clear, like working out is not fucking fun. Like I'm back at Pilates, yo. And my trainer's kicking my ass. Like this week, he wanted to do Pilates 5 times. I said, "Hey Joe, listen, I need tomorrow. I need it off. I need an off day. Like you're kicking my ass, bro." So I get it, and I'm like, I'm always smiling, and like we work out to R&B and like all kinds of like genres, but like R&B is one of my favorite things to work out to because it's slow and it's sexy. And I'm always like singing along with the song. So it becomes like karaoke sometimes. And
that's my favorite thing.
Yes.
If I'm in a class and the teacher gives me license to sing, I'm like, you asked for it.
I'm like, sing, moan, make noises, growl, vibrate your throat chakra, because that's also vibrating the throat is going to vibrate the vagus nerve and also help to open up the pelvis, right? And so I'm like, let it out. Don't hold anything back.
There are in-person classes. So like everyone's doing this together.
So virtual classes, it's like people from all over the world doing them at different times. And then I record them because I do have an international following. And so I upload them. And I'm going back into doing in-person classes now because like the pandemic, of course, I wasn't doing in-person anything. And I was like, I'm enjoying being at home. This is great.
Same.
But
are you an earth sign?
I am a water sign. I'm a Scorpio.
Oh, nice. Love those.
Yeah. But I think it's Libra Earth. I have Libra rising and a Virgo moon.
Virgo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And Virgo is in the house that like governs appearance for me. So this is why fitness.
So that's why I'm like, you're a Virgo.
Yep. Yes, fitness is in my wheelhouse. So this is like a dream come true for me. And so I did a bachelorette party this year to like kick off my in-person, and like they absolutely loved it. And then I'm actually heading to Kenya next week to do 2 classes. And so one of them is already almost sold out, and we're waiting for the second one to sell out. It's going to sell out. I'm just super excited.
Kenyan companions, this means you.
Yes, come through Kenya. We want you in the building. And so I've been getting all these requests from like my top cities, because like my top cities are DC, Atlanta, Chicago, and New York, right? And people have been hitting me up like, so what's up? Like, you doing the classes again? I'm like, all right, y'all. Yes. So I'm going to be dropping my mini tour dates, because I used to travel like a rock star. I was doing like 28 to 32 cities a year.
Oh my God.
Right. And planning this whole thing myself, all of the logistical planning from travel, booking the venues and the lodging, all of it. I was doing it, even with the international stuff. So this summer I'll be coming to a city near you with the Cowgirl Workout.
We'll drop the links below. But also, I think it's really fun to start online, especially for people who have never done it before. And you're like, you want to do it one-on-one, and maybe you turn off your camera the first time. Like, I'm sure that's allowed. And you can just see other people.
So when I teach it, right, I'm the only one that's on screen. So I don't see anybody, and they don't see each other. And I started doing that because a lot of my clients were like, I don't want my camera on. Right? Because there is this level of like insecurity that they are carrying, and they do feel like some embarrassment. So when I do my one-to-one sessions, then no, the camera is on. But in person, it's so great because I get to correct their hip movements. If I see them struggling a little bit, and I'll like break it down for them, and they're like, aha, I got it now. And so I really take my time. Like if it's a class of 30, I take my time, I go around and I look at each one. It's low key like a dance instructor, like a ballet instructor who's like, that turnout's not right. Fix that foot, you know?
Yes, Miss Tyomi.
Yep. And then I love it because my clients, like they leave sweaty, but they leave aroused. They're like, am I supposed to feel like this?
Literally everyone has to have their partner being like, be ready. I'm coming home. I went to class. Start stretching.
I was just going to say that. And it's funny because one of my favorite interviews that covered the Cowgirl Workout was for cosmopolitan.com. And so the writer who did the article, I took her through a class, and like she was getting it. And then she said that she put the moves on her husband the next day, and he was like, what is this witchcraft? Like, what did you just learn? And what did you just do to me? And I think that is magical. So I always tell my clients, I'm like, you want to manifest something really quick, hop on the dick, ride it. And as he's going up the scale in his arousal, before he comes, whatever it is you want, you better ask for it. And then as you're getting the affirmation that he's like, yes, I'm going to do this for you. But yeah. Just like stroke more. And if you're not hearing what you need to hear, you just stop. Like, what's going on? They're like, I need to hear some feedback from you. Like, am I, and then snatch his soul. And then give it back to him. And it's funny because like, some women come to me and they take my class and they don't tell their partner. They're like, I don't want him to know that I'm taking your class. And then they'll come back and be like, so he's really
figured it out.
Right? Like, he's wondering how I'm improving. He thinks I'm cheating. And I'm like, no,
literally.
You better tell him you're taking the class.
Which is worse.
Right. Like, I think you might want to tell him it's just an online class and not another person that's teaching you how to ride that's a penis owning person, because I don't want your relationship to end over that. Like, just be truthful. So, and men are sending their girlfriends, their wives, their fiancés to my class.
Cool.
They are paying for memberships. Like, I literally had a guy write me the other day and was like, so when are you doing this in Chicago? Because I got 2 people that I want to send your way. I was like, oh, look at you, sir.
Fancy man.
Love that you invest in the women in your life and their pleasure. This is amazing.
And so it's all people with vulvas, but do you see, like, because we were also talking about people with penises that can ride, Right. So I wanted to keep the Cowgirl Workout for vulva owners, but I do have, I call it stroke game crazy. That's my stroke, like the penis owning component of this. And during the pandemic, I taught this class. I had like 45 men or penis owning people in my class. And they were like, first of all, astounded and just like blown away about the anatomy, right? Because I was like, listen, we got to talk about the anatomy first and why it's important to warm things up before you go in. And then when I started showing them the actual movements and the exercises to help them improve their stroke, so many of them came back to me and was like, thank you. You made me a better lover. And so
yeah, I get a lot of requests from men who are like, do you have this for us? And also women are like, okay, we're out here doing the work. So they should too. And I'm like, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so and the thing is that the exercises aren't even anything that they haven't seen before, right? But men are not used to really rotating their hips or isolating their hips because they liken it to something that's feminine.
Yes.
And so they walk throughout life with very stiff hips and their psoas muscles are stiff. And so it takes a lot of stretching before we can even get into the movements. And then when I teach them about like breathing so they can like extend their stamina, and also like I told you earlier, right? Like breathing through the tip of the penis and like pushing that pressure and being able to have that strength in the pelvic floor where they can like do like a dick lift.
Yeah, I love the dick lift.
Who doesn't? Like, that's just like the most amazing thing
best.
ever. And just even
It's
using
like nodding
that.
its little head.
Right, it's so cute. I'm like, oh.
Do you like it?
So that's, I'm working on that course on my, I'm finally launching thepleasureacademy.com on this coming Monday. And that's going to be a course that I have for penis owning people. Is stroke game crazy so that they can learn how to stroke better. And I'm just tired of the body slams. Like, come on, guys, we got to stop. Like, this is not WWE. It's not.
No, unless you want it to be. But yeah, that's usually the only one that's taught. And like, rolling through it, much more fun. And I was going to say too, when we were talking about like riding non-vaginally, because there are people with penises that want to ride and do ride. And even myself, the first time that I had what I call successful anal, I was on top and I loved it the best because I was in control.
Exactly.
So I think, maybe if you're at home and you want to take a dick riding class and you don't even have a vulva, like it could still apply to you, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because it's the same moves. It's just with the anus. Now, what I teach in anatomy, it's not the same because there is no ending. Right? It's just like goes on forever into your descending colon and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so I've been thinking a lot about that. And I was like, you know what? I think what I want to do is take like my master class and some like core strengthening classes and put it on the pleasureacademy.com for those who do want to learn how to ride, but they're not, a vulva owning person, because the community, like, it's a whole community. It's kind of like my own little Facebook for us. And so if you are a penis owning person and you want to, or if you're a person who has a vagina, but you want to learn this for anal, then it's literally like same rules apply. So, or I'll probably just record something new, but like, placated to the anus instead of the vagina, right? But it's literally same moves, just different body part. And it's like, what, an inch, if that, apart from each other? Like,
I'm going to edit this out, but I saw this insane Reddit post that somebody reposted on TikTok, and it was this guy who was like, women, like, they're so high and mighty and they need to remember that their vagina is an inch from their asshole. Like, you need to humble women, and like every time you're like with your woman, like you should remind her that like she's not that great because again, her vagina is an inch from her asshole or whatever. And like I'll be walking around with my boyfriend, I'm like, babe, you haven't reminded me that my vagina is an inch from my asshole today. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
It's like, it's so close. It's like not even funny. That's why they're always missing the mark, and you're like, wrong hole. Because when you're not ready for anal, that's a very surprising little knock on the door. It's like, whoa, hold on.
Nobody likes
I didn't know
that.
we were doing that today.
Yeah.
You should have told me so I could prep properly.
Warm up the butt cheeks, please.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so when speaking about cowgirl, I feel like reverse cowgirl is always brought up. Is that something that we broach in class as well? And is it as effective? Because I've always found reverse cowgirl to be very uncomfortable.
I was going to say that going back to what I said earlier, just because it exists doesn't mean it's for you. And I always tell my clients this because depending on how your vagina is shaped and depending on how the penis is shaped will determine if reverse cowgirl is actually comfortable.
Okay.
Because I know personally, I've been in situations where it just did not work out. It wasn't fitting right. It didn't feel comfortable. I wasn't able to get into like a good groove. And so I was like, this isn't going to work. And so I always remind my clients too that reverse cowgirl is the one position that is the most dangerous because of how the penis is positioned. Like you're pulling it back towards the feet, right? Which can like pull on the base of the penis. And if you don't ride it right, you can literally like bend it and it could cause micro tears or like fractures. So we talk about it, we cover it, and I also show them like a particular stroke. I call it like the backstroke that can be more pleasurable than like trying to do like this traditional like front stroke.
Like on an elliptical.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So
I like literally pictured it. I'm like, that could be better.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you know what? When I would teach in person, like prior to the pandemic, right? I would teach the front, like traditional front stroke, right? And I would be looking at some women and I'm like, are you doing that backwards? Like they would literally be doing it backwards. And I'm like, but that's not wrong though. This is an actual stroke. And so I started teaching the backstroke because I was like, some of you, the way your hips move, the backstroke is more comfortable for you. So you can ride the dick front ways and in reverse with this backstroke. And it's going to be an amazing feeling. They're going to be like, oh my God, like, what is this? What are you doing to me? And then also teaching the internal stroke. So Kegels.
Ooh, everyone just did it.
Yep. It's the grip.
Yeah.
The grip is the piece de resistance for sex. Like they want to feel like their dicks are being hugged. You know? And so the hips can do what they do in moving the entire pelvis, right? And then the Kegel can give that extra stroke on the inside. And that is when souls get snatched. And you might want to be careful about who you put that on. Because if you don't really like love this person or you don't really want them around,
they're going to follow you
don't
around.
play with their feelings like that. Like, be responsible with your pussy. Please understand that she is powerful. And that, you know, there will be people who will be attached to you if you put it on them a little too good, you know? Like, so just be aware of who you want to give that golden pass to. I would say golden tickets.
If they deserve it.
Exactly.
Or if they deserve to fall in love with, you know, if they don't deserve to fall in love, then don't give it.
It's like, you know, you can still be great in bed, but not bring out all the tricks. You know, you can reserve some stuff for like your person, like your beloved. But when you're out here just like experimenting and exploring your sexuality and having fun, you know, just proceed with caution. Use your discretion. You know?
And the Kegels, do you think that they help the vulva owner achieve an orgasm as well?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And so I tell my clients too, I'm like, hey, you should do the workout, or at least a few like pelvic rotations and some Kegels as a warm up. It's like a form of foreplay for your vagina because it gets the blood flowing into the pelvis and it starts the engorgement process before your partner even touches you. And so yeah, it most certainly helps.
They're like, ooh, I love that little dance you're doing for me. You're like, this is for me.
Like, exactly. Oh, you thought this was for you? I'm warming up. I'm warming her up, getting the oven hot and ready. And the thing is, too, it shortens the amount of time that it takes for the engorgements that happen. Because for us, we have those three major erectile tissue beds: internal clitoris, urethral sponge, perineal sponge, right? And they're spread out across the pelvis. And so it's like 20 to 45 minutes for engorgement to be completely full. So if you take 10 minutes to warm up, then it's going to shorten that process. And then if your partner knows, direct clitoral stimulation shortens it even more, right? So look at that. If you say 10 minutes to warm up, 10 minutes to play with the clit, that's 20 minutes right there. You know
that's all you need.
And then if you start,
and everybody thinks it's so long.
I'm like, come on now, it's not even that much of a chore. And then remember what I said about shallow penetration. So if you just use the head, just the tip, right? There is a gif of me out there saying just the tip, which is hilarious to me. But if you use just the tip, you're stimulating the bulbs of the internal clitoris, right? And the perineal sponge. So if you use 5 minutes with just the tip, shallow penetration, right? Right there, that's 25 minutes. So,
and when the tip catches one of the bulbs, like ever so slightly,
see, I like the heads that have a pronounced coronal ridge, like the mushroom caps.
I love a ridge. Not essential. This is not a body essentialist conversation. We're just giving it up to the ridge.
We're giving it up to the ridge because it has a specific function. Like I learned, right, that it pulls moisture down out of the vagina. Like, and then I hate that circumcision is like the norm in the West because foreskin actually creates a seal that keeps the moisture in. So when you have the cap and you got foreskin, baby, splash waterfalls. Okay?
It's a nice time.
It's a great time.
And using the head on the outside too. It's just the perfect feeling of skin to skin.
It's unmatched. Honestly, it's unmatched. And so I just want people having great partnered sex. I want people having fun. I want people not taking themselves so seriously. Accidents happen. Goofy shit happens. Sometimes you get headbutted. Sometimes you get kicked in the chest, whatever. Sometimes you fall off the bed. Sometimes your wig comes off, whatever. At least that's just me. But
I'm just still picturing the kicking in the chest. I'm like, is there a bull involved?
Oh my gosh. Like I'm a bit of a wrestler sometimes. But it's all about fun. It's all about pleasure and connection. And when you can learn to laugh at yourself and feel okay with experimenting and being like, looking at each other and saying, it's not working. Let's just try something else, right? And not making it into this whole thing of like, oh my God, what's wrong? Am I doing it right? Like when it's more relaxed and just playful in its exploration, it's fun no matter what's going on. So I love what I do. I'm happy that I get to empower women and also like empower men and penis only people, vulva only people, just like through movement. Movement changed my life. And I'm like, if I can get you moving your breath, moving your mindset, and also moving your body, then it's going to shift you out of the place where you are in your sexual expression and experience, where you can move into a more lighthearted and like openness around experiencing more pleasure.
And it's just something that you can do at home. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I want to start pole dancing to spice up my relationship. And that's amazing, but not everyone has a pole. So like, this is just a great place to start that initial journey. And then maybe you'll work your way up to pole dancing or something like that. But it's something that you can bring to your partner pretty immediately, bring to yourself pretty immediately. Like just loosening up your hips for yourself is going to make masturbating more fun. And doing that breath work or getting turned on in the class and then being like, oh my God, I'm going to slam this like Zoom shut and go masturbate, like
exactly.
That's so fun.
And all we need is a yoga mat, a chair, and a fitness ball. 3 simple items. And then your computer or phone, or you can hook up your computer or cast to your TV. And that's all you need. And then the willingness to just do the work. I always tell people, just because you get the program doesn't mean it's just going to be like, ta-da, you know, like, no, you have to move, you have to sweat, you know, like you got to clap some cheeks a little bit. And I want to say this, the stamina that is experienced and the strength training that's experienced in this workout will help with pole dancing. It will help with Pilates. It will help with any other form of like fitness that a person wants to do. And this is not like, you know, a workout that's centered around like fat phobic culture or diet culture. It's literally about helping you feel good in your skin. And as a result, some people do lose weight. Some people do get a bigger booty. You know what I mean? And that's not the goal of it, but those are like byproducts. And so, yeah, I love it. And my goal is for the Cowgirl Workout to be like the next Zumba. Like,
I would die.
I want this to be in gyms all over the world. I want to empower and train other people to train their communities in this because it's sexy. Like, and I got that idea from a day when I was working out at the Equinox in West Hollywood, and I was just doing my routine, right? And I have my headphones in, I'm in my zone. And then I take my headphones off and I look over and this woman is like staring at me, jaw dropped. And she's like, I hope you're getting paid to do what you just did right here. Because you have this entire gym captivated. And I was like, oh, for real? I didn't see anybody. I was like, but yeah, I do get paid to do this. I am a trainer. This is my method. And she was like, you should totally like see if you could do this here at the Equinox. I would take your class. And I was like, Equinox, you said?
Literally. No, I love that somebody at an Equinox likes it because as you were saying, like there's not a lot of exercise space. There are now, but that are like super body neutral or body positive or, you know, there's a lot of classes that you don't want to step into if you're not a stick thin white woman.
Yep. Like bar.
like bar.
Yep. And so I'm training as an ISSA master trainer so that I have the certifications to be able to go into gyms like Lifetime, like Equinox, like LA Fitness, and talk to their personal training directors and like fitness directors and pitch this class. So that's my goal in the next few years is to have this be a staple in gyms and train other trainers in my method so that not only are they earning an income, but we are empowering people to really focus on their sexual health through fitness.
Yeah, it can be an exclusive space, but it's great when you're like, nope, this is a space for everybody. Like everybody come in, love yourself. If your body does change, hopefully you'll love yourself enough to be like, fuck yeah. Like I love whatever changes come.
Exactly. And we're not in here like, you know, trying to get shredded. We're in here wanting to feel more pleasure.
We're trying to jack off, not get jacked.
Exactly. Boom. I love how you just come right in with the puns, man. This is so great. Like,
call me horny Carrie Bradshaw.
I love it.
No,
I have a lot of clients who are like, they are in larger bodies and they come to me and they're like, is this only for petite women? Is this only for skinny women? And I'm like, baby, I'm in a large body. I'm 222 pounds. I'm 5'10" and a half.
That is a magical number.
222.
222, baby.
What it do, baby? You know? So like, I'm a magical being. And
yeah, that's why you can snatch souls.
Exactly. And I always give them back. I promise.
Yes.
I promise. I give them back.
She's a good witch.
I am. I'm Glenda.
Yeah.
Just Tyomi.
You have been practicing sorcery for a while. You had your first orgasm at 10 years old, you said.
Yes.
Do you remember it vividly?
So I remember, you know, because I had cable, you know, I was a suburban kid and I had my own TV and we had cable and I discovered Skinamax and
we have had two of these today. Yep.
And
no one has had an original experience at this point.
No one at this point. Like, you know, it's that like late night. And then also, I'm going to say this, Toonami on Cartoon Network. Bruh, they used to have some real adult themes up in there. So like,
oh my God.
In discovering the sexy stuff on TV, I just noticed that I was having feelings down there. Because I started puberty at 8 years old. So, And I think it wasn't too long after this moment. I think maybe like 2 years after, no, a year after I started my period. And so, but I just started to notice feelings down there, like a swelling feeling.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? And all I remember is that I needed to rub it out.
Yeah.
And I went to the bathroom, and it wasn't like a finger thing because I didn't know about the clit at the time.
Yeah.
It was just the entire area just felt like swollen. So it was like a palming kind of a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember doing this like quite vigorously with like some pressure and just feeling this warm sensation all over my body and just being like, oh, what is this? You know?
Yeah.
It is the best feeling. And there was no one educated me about that. And so I just remember not returning back to masturbation until like my late teens. Because, I was a church girl and they used to shame all this, masturbation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I remember feeling bad about it. Like, oh, wait, I can't do that. Okay.
Put it
Shut
away.
it down. Yes,
Yeah.
put it away. Put it in a little box for later. But I remember that very vividly, just feeling aroused, feeling engorged, and then having this like sense that I need to rub this out.
Yeah.
I can't just let this stay here like
you have
this.
to solve the problem. This is what you do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I always say, my first sexual experience was like then. Like my first time feeling aroused, I would say was like 8, 9 years old. My first orgasm was 10. And then my first partnered experience was at 19. Sometimes I've observed, like in just having conversations with people online, that, the idea of being an adult virgin is like embarrassing. And I always tell people, like, whenever you arrive to this aspect of sex is when you arrive. Mm-hmm. There is no designated time for you to have to do something. Mm-hmm. It's about your own personal journey and where you feel the most comfortable at that point in your life. And if you feel comfortable at 35, having your first partnered experience, then that's fine. I know a woman who was a nun up until she was like 60 something years old, and she didn't have her first partnered experience until her 60s.
Oh my God. That is wild. But she also probably loved it once she did. Yeah.
She did. And then she became a tantric practitioner.
Don't they always do that, those nuns?
Yes. Shouts out to my Sangha member, Lori. She's amazing. Like, she's an amazing practitioner. And so you arrive when you arrive.
Yeah. And it's never too late.
It's never too late. Oh my gosh. And the gray community, we do not educate them enough. I am in a space where I'm starting to say, okay, what does it look like for me as an educator to educate the gray community? Because I know when I'm gray, I'm going to still be fucking, okay?
Yeah.
What?
And I'm going to still want people to tell me what the current tricks are and tips.
Yes, absolutely.
I won't know how to use whatever phone we're using then.
Listen.
But help me.
Definitely gonna need help with that because I'm pretty sure AI will be full like Android at that point where it's like a hybrid of human / AI. Like it's gonna be like definitely iRobot.
Good morning. It's time for your dick riding class.
Right. And I'm like, so you helping me out today? And it has all the features. Like it could be vulva owning or penis owning at any time. It's like, ooh, I like this.
It's like Smart House. Just brings out a bunch of toys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I don't you love Smart House?
Right.
It's so good.
I used to watch that movie over and over and over again because I was just like, can I have this house except without the house?
The mom.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, she was a mess. Like.
I love that him and his friends like just did like the choreographed dances to music videos in their room.
Yes, that was me as a child.
Cute. Yeah. Okay, and then another first of yours was your first squirt at 21. Can we hear that story?
Listen, I wish I could see the visual because the sun just started shining on my back, and I have the glow right now. Okay. So my first like serious committed boyfriend was at like 19 and 19, 20. And I was still living with my parents at the time. And my mom had a strict no sex in my house rule. But you know, I was like, I'm grown now. I'm like a teenager. I'm 20 now. I'm straight. I'm gonna sneak and do this. And so we had this big, comfy couch. I love this couch. Like it could fit like 6 people on it at once. And so me and my boyfriend used to like cuddle on the couch and we used to spoon and we used to like sneak and have sex. And so this one day, nobody was at home, just us. And he was eating me out. And I was loving it so much. And then all of a sudden, I just started squirting. But he freaked out and thought that I was peeing on him. And he just jumped up. And so I left this puddle on the couch and I jumped up because I was freaking out like, oh my God, I fucked up the couch.
Yeah.
Right?
My favorite couch.
Man. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want my mom. They're like, I don't want to get in trouble. And so I remember like when it dried, like I smelled and I was like, oh, I don't smell anything. I was like, what was that? Like I had no idea. And then I started doing research and I came across this article and this video from the Oprah show with Dr. Laura Berman. And Dr. Laura Berman
was talking about squirting?
Yes.
Oh my God. Go Oprah.
Yes. And so I found this video and she explained it and I was like, oh my gosh. And I think I found Dr. Laura Berman online on Twitter and we became cool. And she became kind of like a mentor of mine once I started doing the work. But yeah, she empowered me and helped me to feel comfortable with the fact that my body had responded this way. And he was like the only partner for a long time that would like help, like be able to do that, like have my body respond that way. But him freaking out about it definitely like
made it weird.
It was traumatizing. Yeah, it was traumatizing because it made me feel like I did something wrong.
Yeah.
And I just felt apprehensive around allowing my body to get to that point to squirt. And so it took other partners to help me feel comfortable who were like, oh, I love that shit. Like, let it pour in my mouth. I'm like, oh, nasty, freak you. I like it. So, yeah. And like, it's not a common thing that happens with partners, but I make myself squirt all the time with self-pleasure and I love it. And it feels like just an amazing release.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, like, yeah, that first time though, it's like forever burned in my brain.
Yeah.
This is why I tell my clients, like, it's really important how you respond to things too, because you can never take it back.
Yeah. And then it's going to be more work every time.
Yep.
But
every time.
If you do mess up, it is okay.
It's okay.
And we can come back from things.
We can always come back from things, especially when you have a conversation about it. I don't know if we had a conversation. I don't remember if we had a conversation about it.
You went home and did all the research.
I did.
So at least you had the conversation with yourself, but it would have been nice if he did the research too.
Yeah, you know, in a perfect world, you know, they're doing the research too. So I like when I meet penis-owning people who are male identifying that are like doing the work. I'm like, oh, you just turn me on. The sapiosexual in me is aroused.
Yeah, it's instant foreplay.
It really is. Like they don't, and it's so simple. I'm like, ooh, how come y'all don't know these cheat codes? Like this is a combo that will save you time. You have no idea.
You play a lot of video games. You don't know about cheat codes.
Right. Like, listen, my guy, get up on the sexual cheat codes, okay? You're trying to be a master lover. You want to get to like the final level, big boss level of sex. Get the cheat codes.
Yeah. Well, Cowgirl Workout sounds like a cheat code. You sound like a cheat code. This has been so much fun having you on How Come.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
When I saw the title of the podcast, I was like, hell yeah, I want to be on that podcast. And you're right. I am a cheat code. The Cowgirl Workout is a cheat code. Thank you for recognizing that. Thank you for allowing me to share my expertise with your audience and with the world. Like, I'm so happy.
I'm so happy too. Can you tell everybody where they can find you on the internet and find your classes?
So you can find me online on social media, Instagram at Real Glamazon Tyomi, Twitter at Glamazon Tyomi. If you want to take the Cowgirl Workout, it's thecowgirlworkout.com or members.thecowgirlworkout.com. And if you want to take the course, but not in the community, thepleasureacademy.com.
Cool. Okay, I have to ask this question after a sexual experience, and this has been a sexual experience. Tyomi, did you finish?
Did I finish? Yes.
Good.
Okay. Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And you guys, we'll see you next time on How Come. Goodbye.
Bye.
It's not you, it's me. I try so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I've still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
You're still here. Woo! I don't even mean in the Marvel section. I just mean like listening to this podcast because like you're so patient and thank you for that. And I do feel bad that we don't put out episodes more regularly. But what I also feel good about is that every episode that we've put out, I'm like, this is something new and exciting. Because we've had a lot of people pitch themselves to us and we're like, kind of covered that already. But yeah, thank you guys for sticking around and supporting the podcast. If you haven't rated, reviewed, and subscribed, we would love that if the review is nice. And yeah, if you want extra content or you wanted to hear this episode when we actually recorded it, patreon.com/howcome. You get unedited episodes with video. There's a tier where you can listen completely ad-free for edited episodes if you prefer them more edited. There's a tier for old episodes with old ads because I cut a ton of those out. And yeah, that's all the housekeeping I have to do. If you want to DM us and let us know how you felt about the episode, if you liked it, yay, DM us. If you didn't like it, yeah, fine, DM us at How Come Podcast, or you can DM me at Remy Casimir. And yeah, thanks again for sticking around. We appreciate you more than you know. And have a great week. Save a horse, ride a dick.